Have you ever met someone who could captivate a room and make people listen to them? And not only listen to them, but also engage and take actions. On the other hand side, you must have met or seen the smartest guy who was the expert in what they were doing, but could not communicate and get a buy in of their ideas. Guess what's the difference between these two people? You got it right. It's all about communication, and more specifically, storytelling. Storytelling isn't just about words or numbers, it's about bringing your data to life. It helps your audience to understand complex information, remember key insights, and most importantly, take action. Of course, that's your biggest goal. You want to inspire people to take action on the basis of your recommendation. You want to make sure that the way you communicate, the way you speak with your audience, it touches their minds and their hearts. And the key here is, once again, storytelling. Hey everyone, this is Dr. Humera, and I'm your data and AI mentor. In this module, we'll go beyond numbers and charts. You'll learn how to effectively craft data stories, how to tailor it for your audience, and how to present your analysis impactfully. A great data story answers three key questions: what happened, why it happened, and what to do next. Let's dig deeper into this framework. So, the first question is what happened? This is where you specify your business question, the scope in which you are working. If we recall from our Amazon sales dataset example, we looked at the categories of the products we had, their discounts, prices, and we also looked at the ratings and user comments. So continuing with that example, our business question is customer satisfaction and customer responses. So this is our bigger question. How do customers feel about our products? How do customers feel about our services? Is there any hypothesis that we can make? Can we say that customers are very happy or customers are not very happy with our products? Here you put that bigger question. How do customers feel? You phrase this question as a question or a fact, which you later on prove or disprove. In other examples, this could be understanding of the business teams about any certain aspect. For example, they might be thinking that our sales are going great. Is it really going great or not? They might be thinking that a certain region is doing awesome. Is this the right understanding or not? So, bottom line is you start with your business question and you start with specifying what is happening. Moving on to step number 2, which is why it's happening. This is where you bring in all your context, your charts, and your visuals. And here, the most important term, which I didn't say, but let me say it now, is you bring all your relevant charts and data and information. This is a very big mistake which many, especially new data analysts, make. You did a lot of analysis. We created a lot of charts. We did a lot of analysis in the previous modules throughout this tutorial series. You don't have to put everything that you have worked on in your story. You only need to pick and choose and pick the most relevant items that fit into your story, that supports your story. We don't want a cluttered story. We want a clear and concise messaging. So here you bring in why you think your hypothesis is right or wrong. So if we tie it to our business question, how do customers feel about our products? This is where you will bring in all the information about how were the ratings, why were the ratings good or bad, which categories were doing good, which categories were doing bad, which regions were doing good, which regions were doing bad, and so on and so forth. So here you bring everything that you need to present with respect to your customer satisfaction. And last but not least, the third important point is what's next. So let's identify, so let's say you have identified that certain products are not doing good. So you need to give a suggestion on how to proceed with those products. Or certain regions are not doing good, or certain regions are doing very good. So how do you handle this information? What are your suggestions as a data analyst, as a somebody who knows the data and keeps the business in mind? What are your suggestions? Is there a situation where you would say, I don't have enough information, we don't have enough data to make a specific conclusion, and we need more data or we need to do more analysis to make a certain recommendation or make a certain decision? This would then become your recommendation. Further exploration, further insights. So let me summarize this framework again. It's a 3-step framework. You answer 3 questions. What happened? Why it happened? And what's next? So let's now start applying this on the example that we have been considering, which is the Amazon sales dataset. For this, you need a presentation tool. You can use Google Slides or Microsoft PowerPoint or any of the more recent tools like Canva or else. So the tool is really up to you. The story is what is important. Since we have used Google Sheets throughout, let's stick with the same platform and use Google Slides for the remaining module. Now I'm here at the Google homepage, and just like before, you can activate or launch the Google Slides by going to the top right corner, going to the apps and scrolling down to pick up Google Slides. Here you can create a new presentation. And now we start. Let's start with some homework. Let's start with bringing everything together. We need to have a very good title and an impactful title. For our purpose, since we are talking about customer satisfaction, so let's name this as customer satisfaction to begin with. If needed, we will change this later on. We, of course, want something which is catching the attention of our audience right from the beginning. We don't want to lose them with something which we are not presenting effectively. Again, let's continue with describing a basic framework. So let's start with the 3 questions. This is just our first template, our first bare bones skeleton. And right now we are not focusing too much on formatting and presentation best practices. Rather, we are developing the structure. So our question number 1 is what happened? This is where we will specify our business question. Of course, you won't say the heading, what happened or business question. Rather, we will use this as a placeholder and later on replace it. So this is your first starting point. What happened? The second is why it happened. Sometimes answering why it happened is not possible directly. So for example, why a certain product has a low rating. In some cases, it might be possible to identify that. In some cases, it might not. But more importantly, what you want to do here is back your bigger question with data. So back question with data. So this is where you will specify all your data points, all your relevant data points. Relevance is the key. And last but not least, what's next? Of course, each of these sections will have multiple slides, and it's up to you how long or how short you want to keep it. But as a rule of thumb, brief or concise reports are much better than too lengthy or verbose reports. Now we start filling this up. And for this, let's start with our bigger business question. And here we can specify what aspects we want to consider. So for this, we can go back to our sales data and look at what information we have collected. This is where we left last time. And yes, as we can see here, we had region-specific information. So this is one of the things where we want to specify region-specific ratings. What else do we want to present? We have, for example, in our home, we had a scatter plot which was specifying us the relation between discounts. Yeah, we had this over here, rating versus discount percentage. Now think about this. Is this information valuable? Is this information telling us something? Yes, it is clarifying a misconception. If people have this question that whether bad ratings or good ratings are related to the amount of discounts, we may want to clarify this. So this is another point that we may want to specify. Ratings versus discounts. What else? We have ratings per category. And this looked actually valuable, that we are talking about average rating with respect to category and distribution of ratings. So we bring this here. So ratings with respect to categories, rating distribution. I want to re-emphasize that we are simply collecting the relevant information, and we are creating a structure. Of course, this is very far away from being complete, and we are not focusing on the presentation or order at this point in time. We go back. There doesn't look like anything else that we would like to pick from here. And then we come to ratings per home category. This is something that we have covered already. Pivot tables, category, sales. This is not very important, and not important for at least this analysis that we are going to present. And then there are some statistics. These statistics are about the minimum, maximum, average rating, standard deviation, and correlation. The correlation was between rating and discounts, and this is something that we have covered already. There is nothing else that we would like to additionally pick from here, because the minimum rating, the maximum rating, is this information covered somewhere else? I don't think so, because when we were looking at ratings per category, we had averaged out everything. So our average ratings are coming between 3 and 4.71. And now you need to think about whether this is enough, or we should have a histogram for all the ratings. So if we try to create a histogram of all the ratings, do we want to specify that our minimum rating is 2, our maximum rating is 5, or are we okay with showing that it's a normal distribution? So we can actually quickly create a chart here. This was our rating, and if we just calculate the histogram of this column, you know how to do that. You select the data and you go to chart and you insert a histogram. Actually, if you look at it, this looks much more informative, the histogram of raw ratings, compared to the histogram of ratings per category over here. So I think it makes more sense to, instead of using this, we go with this one. And you might have noticed that I am now in the step of storytelling. I am creating a presentation, and meanwhile, I'm also deciding, oh, should I create a new chart, or should I go with another existing chart? This is totally normal. We discussed this in the previous module as well, that this whole pipeline, this 5-step pipeline, is an iterative process. You start with data collection, you go to cleanup, then you go to statistical or descriptive analysis, exploratory analysis, then you go for visualization, and now you are doing the uh, storytelling and compiling everything. But we have been going back and forth among different steps all the time. So when we were in descriptive analysis, we realized that the data needed some cleanup and the comments needed cleaning up, and we were able to do that. Then when we were doing the visualization, we realized that if we would have country information, then we will be able to give more insight. So we went back to the data collection phase and we collected more data. And now we are here compiling everything, and we realize that, okay, this, instead of this chart, this other chart might make more sense. So you need to always keep your bigger question in mind, your goal in mind, and if you need to go back and forth between the different steps, feel free to do that. There is no rigid outline that once you have finished one step, you can't go back. You basically decide what's important for the overall analysis. So again, for us, it seems like this histogram of rating looks much more important than the histogram of ratings per category. So we will come here, and here we can specify that we have a rating distribution for all ratings. Now, these 4 topics will actually feed into our bigger question, and we will be able to devise our bigger question. So let's think about it for a minute and identify what would be the bigger question here, or what would be the bigger statement here about customer satisfaction that you would like to emphasize. Remember, this is the first slide that your stakeholders would look at when they start looking at this presentation. And basically, what you want is to hook them into this presentation. You want to hook them into this analysis. And why do you want to do that? When they start looking at your presentation, they should be very clear on what is it that they are going to get out of this presentation. So let's give it a thought and form a business question. This question should not actually take too much effort, because this was our starting point. We know that it's about customer satisfaction, and what we are trying to identify is how things are influencing customer satisfaction with respect to regions, with respect to discounts, with respect to categories. What are the factors that influence customer satisfaction? So actually, this can be our bigger question. What factors influence our customer satisfaction? So let's go ahead and specify this as our bigger question. What factors influence customer satisfaction? Now, as I said before, this is a broad enough question and specific enough to engage the audience. Anyone who is interested in knowing customer satisfaction would know that this presentation is going to be relevant for them. For everyone else, they know that it's not valid or it's not valuable for them. So you got the right people connected by specifying this question. People would know what they would find out at the end of this presentation. So this is the bigger question. What factors influence customer satisfaction? And now these become your smaller questions that you can answer to answer this bigger question: what factors influence customer satisfaction? You can actually create multiple slides, each representing one of these questions. Are there region specific differences? Impact or region specific differences. Or you can pose a question here: are some regions more satisfied than others? So this is your region related question. Then you can have another question which could be ratings with respect to discounts. So impact of discounts. And again, your question here would be, does discount offerings impact customer satisfaction? What else? Ratings with respect to categories. So distribution over categories. And here our question is, are there certain categories which are doing better than others? Let's type this. And rating distribution for all ratings. So this can become an answer for general or overall customer satisfaction. And what would be the question here? It can be, are customers satisfied in general or not? Of course, again, we are still in the skeletonizing phase. So this is the first outline. If you can find better words, of course, you can change that later on. And here, now we don't need this data because we have copied all of them in separate slides, and we are now ready to go to the next step. Basically, why it happened, or backup question with data. Basically, now we don't need this as a separate header because we can actually put all of these questions, answers as response to this part, why we say what we say, or backing up questions with data. So I can remove this slide because these 4 slides will actually answer why things are happening a certain way. So this is answering our question, what are we trying to figure out? So what happened is that we want to know the customer satisfaction, and we want to know what factors influence customer satisfaction. And now we are on why do we say that. So let's proceed and try to bring the relevant visuals from our spreadsheet to the slide deck. Let me close this templates. So region-specific differences. Are some regions more satisfied than others? We have a data chart for this. We go to the Amazon tab, and here it is. Now, before bringing this, we can see that do we need to change something here? Do we need to add a title? It looks okay, so I can just copy this chart and paste it over here. It will ask you if you want to link to the spreadsheet or paste unlinked. If you keep it linked to the spreadsheet, then if something changes here in the data or in the chart, the same changes can be reflected here as well. So it really depends on whether you want to keep that link or you want to take a snapshot and just paste it. You can decide to do that. And here, let's keep it linked. Let's bring the rest of the charts here as well, and then we will try to do more uh, labeling. What is the next thing that we want? Does discount offerings impact customer satisfaction? So we have this chart on the scatter plot. You can copy this and you can bring it here and paste it here. Also keep it linked. The discount percentage is on the x-axis and the rating is on the y-axis. Are there certain categories doing better than others? So for this, we can bring our categories, ratings per categories chart. And here we discussed last time that this bar chart looked much better than the column chart. So let's take this. We also saw we had some histograms which are not relevant right now. Now here you can do a couple of more things. If you want to edit the look and feel of this chart, you can do it before you take it to the PowerPoint. So for example, is this the right heading that you want? Average rating versus home category. For us, it was important to know that it was a home category or a subcategory, but for our audience, for our stakeholders, we don't need this home category. And do we want to have average rating versus home category as the title, or customer satisfaction with respect to category? Is this a better title? So if that's the case, you can edit the title here already. Just double click and you can change the title here. So customer satisfaction, or I think rating is a better term, rating with respect to category, product category. So now this looks much better than the previous title. And you can also see if you want to change the coloring of your charts. So for example, here the title text color is specified. You can change the title font. You can also change the chart style. So here you can change, for example, let's see where you can change the color of the chart. So if you click on the chart itself, you can see that here it is average rating and it's a color which is being filled. Let's see if we want to do another color, let's say dark yellow, you can pick this one. Or if another color looks better, of course, a color that matches the brand, a color that matches your presentation theme, that would make more sense. It's always a good idea to keep things synchronized compared to just the random default values. So I'm really not the best artistic person, so I'll just pick and choose one random color and we'll proceed. And this is actually very important because some people ask me if I am from a design background, if I am more of an art background, can I come to data analysis and bring my previous expertise along with? And the answer is, of course, yes. As you can see, we just noticed that something which is presented in a bar versus as a column makes a difference. Something which you are presenting in yellow color or red color versus green color, that makes a huge difference. And if you are bringing your artistic touch into the field, basically it's very valuable. So I will now just copy this data this chart and bring it to my presentation. I'll keep it linked. So distribution over categories. And the final chart that we would like to bring is the histogram about how the distribution is. And we decided not to take the categorized chart, rather the raw data. This one, histogram of rating. Again, is this a good title? Not for our audience. It's better to have rating distribution. Rating distribution. And again, you can decide if you want to keep it to the default or make changes. So I copy the chart and I'll bring this here. All right. Now we are in the second phase already. Why something happened, or what proof do you have to back up your claim? So for example, what factors influence customer satisfaction? So these are the four factors which we are exploring: region-specific differences, impact of discounts, distribution over categories, and overall customer satisfaction. You can also start with actually this chart because it makes it goes better with the flow, that what factors influence customer satisfaction. So first of all, we see how satisfied are our customers. So are our customers satisfied in general or not? So here you have the answer. So you can specify that our customers are satisfied in general. We can see most of the ratings lie in the range of, let's say, 3.8 to 4.49 or 4.39. Then there are a few ratings which are below the average, and there are a few ratings which are above average as well. So here you can come up with the answer that most customers are satisfied and most customers are satisfied, and ratings between let's say 3.75 and 4.49. 3.75 and 4.49. Now, an even better way to present this would be that how many ratings are here between this range of 3.75 and 4.49. I leave it up to you to calculate this exact percentage, which is actually not a big problem. You can count the elements between different ranges and perhaps create a pie chart to see how ratings are distributed. Ratings between 3.75 and a few below below average, quite a few above average as well. So here you can specify nothing alarming. This is actually the key point for them, that there is nothing alarming in our customers' satisfaction. Of course, there is room for improvement, but nothing alarming. And since this is the most important part here, I will just make this green, and I will embolden this, that there is nothing alarming with respect to our customer overall satisfaction. So even if somebody wants to stop here because they are more interested in knowing if there is any urgent action that needs to happen, or not, here they know nothing alarming and they can continue further. And now anyone else who wants to go deeper, they can go deeper. Are region specific differences. So here, as you can see, again, you don't have to do much because the image speaks for itself. Are some regions more satisfied than others? And for this, you can actually specify most satisfied region are, and you can then pick up exactly which regions are most satisfied by identifying which ones are with a 5. So we can actually check it here. So for example, if I rate only those regions which are uh, giving me a rating of 5, so I can add a filter, clear everything else, only pick up 5, or you can decide if you want to pick up the top 3 ratings, 5, 4.9, 4.8, then you can click OK, and you can see that there are 3 regions: Greece, Saudi Arabia, and Kenya, which are the most happy regions because they are giving you a high rating. Of course, you need to make also sure that how many ratings are there. So for example, Kenya really have 11,900 ratings, and all of them are 5. Saudi Arabia, on the other hand, it has only 5 ratings, which is 5, and Greece has 23 ratings, which is 5. So do you want to consider Saudi Arabia, or later on, do you want to give a weightage to the overall rating based on how many counts are there? For now, let's take it as it is. So these are our 3 most satisfied countries. So Kenya, Saudi Arabia, and Greece. So we then go to our presentation and we can specify Greece, Saudi Arabia, and Kenya. Surprise, but this is what data tells us. And most dissatisfied regions. So for this, we now go ahead and apply another filter to see which ones are actually giving us a very bad rating. So if we go and instead of selecting everything, we only select 2. Again, you can decide if you want to go for 2 or 2.3, 2.6 as well. Then you can pick. And when we click on 2 only, then we get only one country, which is Germany. And let's try to add a few more. So let's say 2.3, 2.6, 2.8, 2.9. And now, oh wow, even so all the bad ratings are coming from Germany. Let's add some more so that we can have at least more countries. So let's say if we add 3 as well. Now, okay, this is actually a very interesting surprise that now we have Kenya as well, and there are also 3 people. There are also a lot of ratings which are coming from Kenya where people are giving very low rating. So this is actually, now this makes me think that 11,937 is a total rating count coming from this category or this rating. So let's ignore the rating count for now. Let's keep track on this 3. So this is actually telling us something more interesting, that the most happy customers are in Kenya and the most unhappy customers are also in Kenya. But now at least we have these 3 countries like Canada, Colombia, Germany, and Kenya, which are not very happy customers. So we can actually specify that our most dissatisfied regions are Canada, Germany, and Colombia. And it's easy to see here as well. So you can see that Colombia, Germany, and Canada are the most unhappy ones. And here we can also do one thing that interestingly, Kenya also has the highest percentage of unhappy customers. So this is something which we may want to, as a next step, explore further. What is happening with Kenya? Why is there such a huge drift? But here we can actually specify that here your text is supporting what your graph is saying. Here again, your text is supporting what your graph is saying. And here you may want to do one more thing. So for example, we picked up the ratings between 3.75 and 4.49. So it might be a good idea to actually highlight this section in the chart. So for example, I take a rectangle and I build it around 3.75 and 4.49 so that anyone who is looking at our graph can actually clearly see that this is the block that we are talking about. So I can format this and I can specify that I don't want to fill anything in here, so make it transparent, and I want to give it a line color which is prominent, and I want to make this line a bit thicker. So here you can specify that, okay, you can see that this is the block which we are considering as the most popular block, and then a few below average, a few above average. In this graph, we don't want to, or we don't have to point to anything. You can just see that these are your happy regions and these are your unhappy regions. In a similar way, you can now proceed with these elements, these plots. So for example, does discount offerings impact customer satisfaction? You can actually change this sentence directly to specify that discount offerings do not impact customer satisfaction. Okay, and you can also specify if you want a horizontal line passing through these points showing that everything is totally constant. And last but not least, we have our distribution over categories. And here we can answer this question. Are there certain categories doing better than others? So you can specify that the top performing categories are office products, toys and games, and home improvement. And the least performing or the worst performing category is car and motorbike. Okay, so this way we are able to identify which categories are doing best and which categories are not doing that great. So here we have answered the four bigger questions. What are the factors influencing our customer satisfaction? Is there anything else that we can add? If you think about it, we also have some customer reviews from the textual comments that they left. And if you recall, we also created the word cloud for the bad reviews. So that might be an interesting piece of information to put into our deck as well. So let's go back to our data and recall that we would like to see only the first few ratings where people actually rated stuff between 2 and 2.9. And at that time, we had picked, in our previous module, we had picked our review title and review content. And again, we can copy these elements. And after copying all of these, we can bring them to the word cloud generator. Don't want to see the ad. We paste it over here. Do any adjustments. So for example, since we are focusing on the lower rating, so anything which is has anything to do with good, we will take that out. And is there anything else? This word doesn't make any sense. Used, of course it's okay. Ideally we should be able to clean this up, but we are not doing it right now. So any non-English words we can just remove. And this looks okay. And now we create this chart, and here we have more information that, again, like before, product is mentioned a lot. Do we need to keep product in this word cloud, or is it more deteriorating our chart? Now it looks much better. So working, water, waste, battery, money, bad, quality, replacement. Again, working is very generic word, but maybe it was used with not working, and so on and so forth. We can save this now. Let's see if we can download this as an image. So save as word cloud. It seems like it cannot be saved as an image. So we can take a screenshot here. This is good enough for us. And then we can bring, so we can bring this here by dragging and dropping this screenshot. Let's give it a, so user comments with low ratings. And it's always a good idea to be more specific. What do we mean by low ratings? So 2 to 2.9 or 2.8. So here we can see that in a glance what the users are complaining. And now if you want, you can also take it one step further. And if you want, you can also literally extract some excerpt from here. So it is broken, could have been better. So this is an important comment, and we can add more detailed comments or detailed reviews. And we should be able to also specify that for what or which product this comment was given. So it is broken, could have been better. This was commented for this specific product. Green Tails Heat Seal Mini Food Sealer. So this was, so you can actually specify if it was under vacuum sealers category, or if you want to give exact product name, you can do that as well. So I think it makes more sense to have it with respect to the categories instead of giving the exact product name. Of course, anyone who would like to know more about the exact product details can reach out to you and get more details. So for example, we take this one and we paste it here. So this was the category that we are talking about. Or you can see what else. The other one, the other bad comment was stopped working after a few days, charging every 4 months is too much, tap filter quality doesn't purify water. This is all important information. These are all information about the other product. Again, we can go ahead with only the category name, and actually we don't need the full category name. It's a good idea to take only the final category, because if we say water purify accessories, then it's not a big problem to actually pull out all the category names from the data. Stop working after a few days, okay, is not very valuable. Changing every 4 months is too much. And then doesn't purify water. So this is the category here. This was the category, vacuum sealers. Actually, okay, vacuum sealers. This is broken, we can remove this, and so on and so forth. So basically you can also see that you want to present your results, your findings in a way that makes sense for your audience. You sometimes it's important that you modify the data in a way that it, as long as you are not changing the real essence, as long as you are not changing the real meaning or intent behind those entries, it's okay to format that in a way so that it's more clear to your audience. So for example, if I put a space here between to and much, this is actually cleaning up the data. It's not like, oh, the user didn't type this, you modified the user input. That's not what we are doing here. We are simply taking the user input and transforming it in a way so that it makes more sense for us. Now let's conclude what is, so based on the bigger question, what factors influence customer satisfaction. Now we can like literally show our story that overall customers are satisfied, there is nothing alarming. But if we want to go into specific regions, then the most happy regions are Greece, Saudi Arabia, and Kenya, and the most dissatisfied regions are Canada, Germany, and Colombia. However, Kenya is an interesting region because the most satisfied and the most unhappy customers both come from Kenya. And if there is any impact of discounts, we show that there is no impact of discounts on the performance. So people care more for quality than the price. And then there is distribution over categories. So we identified our best category and we identified our worst performing category. We need to make sure that when we are averaging here, if the average, as you saw in the later categories or in the later detailed entries, that basically vacuum filters is a problem, sealer is a problem, maybe car and motorbike on average is not performing that great, but if we go more fine-tuned, then there are other categories that might need more attention. So you need to be sure that you are looking at it from all perspectives and you are not missing out on any information just because you are averaging. And then we have user comments with lower ratings, and here we can identify which ones are the most prominent complaints. We also went into more detailed reviews. So what could be our next steps? Our next steps and recommendations. Again, it's important that you keep this very action oriented and concise. You shouldn't be giving 10 different recommendations. So let's start, 3 is a good number maximum. Let's say, what 3 recommendations can you give here? So overall customer satisfaction, as we said, nothing alarming, so there is no recommendation here. Here our recommendation would be to explore in more details the dissatisfied countries. So explore more the regions and the products that are available, explore more the comments of these users to see why they are not happy. And also, more importantly, or equally importantly, check out what is going on with Kenya. So here we can copy this and we can specify one recommendation is to explore the causes of dissatisfaction in low rating regions. So Canada, Germany, and Colombia. Also Kenya. Also, or explore dig deeper into Kenya for the reason of high variance, because there is a huge variance in Kenyan performance or satisfaction. What else? Now here we are done. Impact of discounts. So discount offerings do not impact customer satisfaction. Do we have any recommendation here? If you can use these discounts to improve your business, you can go ahead, do that. But right now we don't have any recommendation about discounts. What else? Are there certain categories doing better than others? So first would be to actually see worst performing category is car and motorbike. So explore the worst performing category in more detail, and also the variance in the other categories. So explore the reasons behind bad performance or bad. We should be very careful. I am using the term performance here, but user satisfaction and product performance are quite related to each other, but they are actually two different things. Sometimes the product is very good, but that specific customer is not happy because it's not relevant for that customer. So we should not say it was a bad performance, rather we should say unhappy or unsatisfied customer. So low satisfaction of customers in the car and bikes category. What else? Here we can see that there are a lot of customers who said something is broken, it could have been better. Water purifier accessories, they stopped working. So prepare. So maybe we want to reach out to these brands and we might want to make a decision on these brands. So explore and do a quality check on products with ratings below 3, and here we can also recommend whether we want to disqualify those people, we want to blacklist them from the platform, or we want to give them a warning, whatever. We need to have this kind of interaction with them because these are those products which are bringing the overall rating down. Establish communication and decide on blacklisting, etc. Okay, so these are not 3 but 4 recommendations, but the third, this is actually a subpart of here additionally. So these are your recommendations, and this is basically the textual part of your first version of your story is complete. Let's fine tune this one. This actually can become a title slide or a section slide, so you can change the layout of the slide. Apply layout. We can make this a title slide or a main point slide or a section slide, a section header. So this can actually become, so what factors influence customer satisfaction becomes our bigger question. What factors influence customer satisfaction? So customer satisfaction, exploring customer satisfaction, Amazon sales data. This looks a bit too plain, too white, so we can add some images here. You can search on Google for the images or any other place from where you would like to have some imagery. I can go ahead and explore FreePic. This is one of the sites where you can search for images which are AI generated as well, and normal images as well. I already like this one, so let me download this. And we bring this here, drag and drop. And let's send this to the back. And let's change this to white. Let's change this to white as well. And bring this to the side. And here you go. This is our title slide. Let's see if we need something for here as well. What factors influence customer satisfaction? It seems we are good to go. Of course, there are more images that you can add, but for the sake of time, I'll stop here. And as I said, you can add more images here for detailed reviews and for recommendations. Of course, whatever you do, every image, every chart, every text that you are adding should add to your story. It should not be there just for the sake of it. Rather, it should be there because it adds to your story. One last thing is to rename this as Exploring Customer Satisfaction and not leave it as untitled. And now you can share it with your stakeholders, your team, and with whoever you want. And with this, we are at the end of our fifth step of the data analytics pipeline: data visualization and storytelling. It's a fascinating journey, isn't it? You started with the totally raw data where you had only numbers and textual statements. The data was not even clean, and now you are able to present that data with an impactful story and take actions on the basis of it. Now, this is a moment of pride. You have just covered the full data analytics pipeline. To summarize, this is a 5-step process. You start with data collection and you open the data in your favorite spreadsheet. Then you go ahead to prepare the data, you clean up the data. Next, you move towards descriptive analysis and exploratory analysis. Next, as a 4th step, you go ahead and create visualizations. And in the last but not least, 5th step, you combine all the information to create a data story. I hope you found this tutorial valuable. I hope you learned a lot. And now it's time for you to practice. Just download a data set of your choice and apply all the skills that you learned in this tutorial on your own data set. Remember, practicing is the key, and building your portfolio to showcase your skills is the way to move forward. I have a bonus gift for you. Since we are in the era of AI and with the advent of tools like ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Claude, etc., AI is being used for everything, including data analytics. So in the next module, I have a bonus tutorial session for you where we'll look at how AI can be used for data analytics. Stay tuned and all the best.